We've all heard of ridiculous call-outs by UFC fighters time and time again. This time is no different. Pimblett has recently called out a quite peculiar individual. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of this call-out and other UFC news making rounds. First up, Pimblett versus Zuckerberg? At UFC London, by forcing his opponent into first-round submission with a lovely rear-naked choke, Paddy dominated Vargas. And what is becoming a trademark after defeating Luigi Vendramini last year, delivered a post-fight address for the ages, which is his second win in the UFC. This time, his next target is a little less conventional than one would assume. Who is it, one may ask? Mark Zuckerberg. Yes, you heard us right. He has claimed that Zuckerberg is behind his Instagram accounts being banned. He fumed when asked who he wanted to fight and said he was going to punch his head in. He continued by saying he's sick of Zuckerberg and him constantly shutting his Instagram accounts down when all he's been doing is helping charities as well as people with mental health concerns. He also called him the biggest bully in the world. If Pimblett versus Zuckerberg is what the fans want, then we genuinely think that White should be booking it. Next, the fans react to this call-out. Reacting to the sensational call-out, fans have decided they're firmly on Pimblett's side. One even commented, "What a time to be alive to witness a Scouser who has won in the UFC threatening Mark Zuckerberg out of all the people in the world." Somebody else said that, just to confirm, did the Brit really offer to knock out Zuckerberg? With another joking that they think Paddy will handle Zuck in one. Another person laughed at the fact that the young fighter came for the CEO's neck live on pay-per-view. So what has happened for Paddy to be so riled up? Since his rise to fame, he has seen 2 of his accounts taken down, and he's had enough of it. Earlier this week, he said that people with a platform like his should use it to help others. He believes platforms are given to them for a reason, and they should be used for good instead of horrible reasons. He reiterated that all these social media websites need to fix their community guidelines, and he thinks that his account getting disabled at 920,000 followers is absolutely ridiculous. It messes with all the GoFundMe pages he helps for all the sick children and charities or homeless organizations. To him, Mark is the biggest bully around. He managed to weather the storm before taking his opponent down with a hip toss, even though he took a big shot to the face from Vargas early on. He cinched in the choke to make Vargas tap, and that was the beginning of the end as we saw it. Is Pimblett being bullied by Zuckerberg? After taking issue with the way that trolls were being tackled, his account was suspended before the big fight. He explained that he reported abusive comments aimed at young fans he was trying to help on the platform while speaking during the pre-fight conference for UFC London. Discussing one fan he'd been in contact with, he said that the poor boy's dad had just died and he wanted to do something nice for him because he hadn't been to a football match before. But people began saying vile things about the kid, and so he retaliated to stand up for him. The last encounter was for a little boy with cancer who was only 3 years old. Because of chemo, the child is completely bald, which for some foul reason has been prompting people to comment absurd things about him. Paddy would not stand for it, so he was fighting for the child. The fighter went on to say that he has morals. He reported it, but the company decided that the comment wouldn't go against the community guidelines, and so they wouldn't remove it. Naturally, that pissed him off, so he called Zuckerberg a piece of vermin on his shoe, and the next day, his account was disabled. A bit harsh in our opinion. Now, in other UFC news, Oliveira says goodbye to the UFC. After his contract ended recently, and the promotion opted not to re-sign him to a new deal, Alex Oliveira is the latest fighter to exit the UFC roster. This was confirmed by UFC officials to MMA Fighting on Monday. Sad times for the MMA community, but on to better things for him, we hope. Since 2015, when he first debuted with the promotion, Oliveira has been a mainstay with the UFC. He's exiting as a 22-fight Octagon veteran. With 1 no contest across his next 8 appearances, Oliveira went on an impressive run with a 7-1 record following a loss in his first fight against Burns. He picked up wins during that stretch over Tim Means, KJ Noons, and former Bellator champion Will Brooks, struggling to maintain the same kind of momentum as he bounced back and forth between wins and losses. Meanwhile, still managing to pick up some impressive victories, including his submission over one-time interim UFC welterweight champion Carlos Condit following those 8 fights. Real GOAT status if you ask us. Including losses to Nico Price, Brown, and Rachmanov, he unfortunately fell on harder times in recent years after dropping his past 4 fights in a row. Back in March at UFC 272, dropping his record to just 2-7 over his past 9 fights, the final fight on Oliveira's contract came in a TKO loss to Kevin Holland. Although the promotion could re-sign him at any time in the future, the UFC opted not to bring him back on a new deal following that loss, and so his contract came to a close. We wish the absolute best for Oliveira. Next, the destruction of the Pitbull brothers. Last July, with a neck crank in less than 2 minutes to capture the 145-pound title, McKee handily defeated the younger Pitbull brother, which meant his quest to become a 2-division Bellator champion remains a family affair against the two Pitbull brothers. Out of respect for what Patricio had accomplished in the company, he said he agreed to rematch Patricio for the featherweight belt before heading up to the 155 pounds at Monday's kickoff press conference ahead of Bellator 277. This alluded to the fact that the former two-division champion is the most decorated fighter in Bellator history. Now that he's the hunted rather than the hunter, he then addressed whether the brash approach he took into his first fight with Patricio would change, setting off a chain reaction, prompting an immediate offstage retort from Patricio, who vowed to the American that he'd be waiting for him after Bellator 277. He responded saying that he knows he will be, and to be a champion, you have to beat champions. He promised to beat both brothers again. And to that, Patricio retorted that he can only dream. He shot back immediately, asking what he meant by dreams because this is inevitable, and he will beat both of them to get to the top. Subsequently, tweeting out a video, Patricky added to the conversation that his brother would win back the title. If anything, Monday's press conference was a clear indication of McKee's confidence in his chances at winning, vowing to finish Patricio within the first two rounds at Bellator 277 before he moves up to 155 pounds to hunt down his second Pitbull brother. Now, Stan's predictions against Chimaev. Popping back into MMA consciousness in the lead-up to UFC 273, Stan, who served as a UFC analyst and color commentator until 2017, putting out a video predicting the rise of Chimaev 3 full years before Chimaev even made his UFC debut by winning MMA Fighting's 2020 Breakout Fighter of the Year award and defeating Burns. Chimaev has of course gone on to do exactly what Stan predicted, currently sitting at the 4th-ranked welterweight in the MMA Fighting Global Rankings and is a Fight of the Year contender. Explaining how he knew Chimaev was going to be a force so far in advance, Stan spoke with Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour in the aftermath of Chimaev's win over Burns. The Swedish fighter proved equal to the task despite Burns being a huge step up in competition for Chimaev. After getting dropped in the second round, it was basically winning a hard-fought scrap that saw Boers have to battle back from adversity. Stan is excited to see where Chimaev can take his career given how far it has gone thus far. We're as excited to see Chimaev's career blossom. Next up for Chimaev is apparently a fight against Covington, who recently defeated Masvidal in a grudge match at UFC 272, allowing him to remain the welterweight champ. Stan believes Chimaev would be better served to take his time before facing off with Usman, while some fans are calling for Chimaev to go straight for a title shot instead of another fight. Fans will just have to wait and see how this pans out. That's all we have for you today, folks, but we'll be back with more interesting videos. So keep your eyes peeled to stay informed about the sports industry and keep watching our videos. Tell us what you think about Pimblett's hilarious call-out by sounding off in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe before leaving. Signing off.